There's been days where I was like, I don't want to get out of bed today. Like, this is pretty crippling. Allowing myself to have those moments of vulnerability and to cry, but know that I'm going to get back up, because this isn't going to be the end. I'm not going to let this defeat me, because I'm so connected and so passionate about the bigger picture. And I think that a lot of business owners, when they start, they don't have that deep why. They don't even really know why they're doing it. Sometimes they're just doing it to make money. There's not like that deep underlying passion behind it. So when something small happens and gets in their way, it's easy to just, fold up shop and be like, oh, it wasn't part of my journey. But a savage is going to realize, like, no, this is my journey. And this is just the universe throwing shit at me to see if I'm strong enough to get through it.
Welcome to the Mindset Hackers podcast, where we will discuss topics that will help you level up both personally and professionally. If you haven't subscribed, please do so now so that you never miss an episode. Now, let's get going. What is up, Mindset Hackers? Thank you so much for joining me today. I want you to give yourself some appreciation for taking some time to invest in your personal development. I have an amazing guest with me today. She is a close friend. Her name is Cassandra Britton. She is the owner of Business Savage Academy. We'll talk a little bit more about that. She also played competitive hockey when she was young, and that really allowed her to embrace a growth mindset, embrace competition, embrace improvement and personal development. Then she created a 7-figure business. She started when she was 19, and by 27, she had hit that mark. I am so excited to jam out with her today. Cassandra, how are you doing?
I'm so excited that we're doing this. What a good day. I'm feeling full send.
I know it's about time that you and I have jammed out. I can't believe it's taken us this long, but you and I have been kind of on a journey together. We've both been building businesses, and this isn't our first go around on this, right?
This is not. Nope. It's been a couple goes around. Around.
I'm so excited because you and I were kind of jamming before we hit the record button. And one thing that I was talking to Cassandra about was, how do we help people build that belief system that they can do it too? Because a lot of times people look at maybe where you and I are at or other people, and there's a little bit of judgment around that. And they don't realize what it takes in the background, what it takes, the years that come and lead up to that. So I wanted to start out with having you tell me a little bit about your backstory. I love that you were a competitive hockey player, but walk me through, because you are an absolute superhero to so many people, so many entrepreneurs, so many aspiring entrepreneurs, but they might not see what it took to build you to the person that you are today. And it always seems to look so easy for some people, right? But there's really no overnight success. I often hear like best-selling authors, they're on their 7th book, but everybody thinks it's their first book because nobody sees all that hard work behind. I want to know your backstory. Tell me, walk me through this. Where did this all start? How did you become the person that you are today?
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I'm super excited to have this conversation. I know we were chatting a little bit before about just a reel that I posted yesterday. There's some like very real and raw emotion happening with me right now. And I feel like I'm stepping into this whole new level. So I'm really excited to have this conversation. My backstory, I've played competitive hockey my whole life. 3 years old. I think my dad wanted me to be the boy that he never had, but I had a younger brother and he just wasn't a big athlete, but I've been a big athlete, right? Sports came very naturally to me. So played competitive hockey on the ice 6 times a week. I didn't really have much of a social life growing up. I was, told it was sports and you had to be the best. And that was kind of the only option. So, from getting cut from hockey teams and then playing boys hockey, being told that you're not good enough or you don't belong here, I think I always felt like I had something to prove. And I always had to like prove my worth and that I was deserving of being there. So, fast forward a few years, I ended up going to university for kinesiology, 17 years old, no idea what I was doing, had no idea like if I even wanted to be in kinesiology, wasted $20,000, total waste of my time, total waste of a year of my life. Ended up going back to school for sport business management, one of 5 women in a crowd of 80 men in a sports program, all fighting for one job for professional sports. And guess who got that job? Right. So worked my absolute butt off. But of course, everyone's like, oh, it's been handed to her. It's been handed to her. It's been handed to her. Nothing's ever been handed to me in my entire life. Right. It's easy for people from the outside to look in and see these shiny things or see the things that I've accomplished, but they don't know that I've been through lawsuits. They don't know that I've been through labor board claims. They don't know the number of times I've been cut from hockey teams. They don't know the amount of debt that I had to go into to get to the places that I was at. But I had a resiliency that I would never, ever, ever give up. And it was like, I don't care how many doors are slammed in my face or how many people try to knock me down. As long as I have a heartbeat, I will get back up. So that kind of took me to a level where I ended up working for the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Toronto Raptors, selling sponsorships, everybody's dream job. And I was not happy, right? Sitting at a desk 9 to 5, somebody telling me like my creativity had to be kept inside this bubble and don't step too far outside of it. And it was very limited in terms of advancements. And I remember trying to take a trip. I wanted to go over to Asia, and I looked at my time that I had left off to take personal time, and it was like 2 days left for the rest of the year. I'm like, this is not living. This isn't what life can be about. So decided to start my own business. 19 years old, I went to beauty school. I became a makeup artist. I started doing weddings. That took off. I took a couple other services in the industry and started doing cosmetic tattooing, permanent makeup, which took my business to the 7-figure level. I've done over 4,000 faces now. It's grown a training academy. I started another business with my own product line. And then, so many details getting into the beginning of COVID, but that's when I launched this coaching business. And that's when obviously I've met you, and it has completely changed my perspective on life and my journey. So that's what brought me here today.
I love that you are unlocking people and their highest potential. Now, I want to ask you this, your new academy. I love the name, because I always throw that out there. Business Savage Academy. Tell me, what is a business savage? Tell me the significance behind that, why you chose that name, and what is a business savage?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. So one of the things when I started that academy, and being a branding and marketing expert is we really understand who am I serving and what do I want to teach them, right? Like, what is it that I want people who come into this academy to be able to leave with? And and I'm going to say the word gift because I feel like it is a gift that I have been blessed with and given from the universe, is that ability to get knocked down, but always get back up. And so when I think of a business savage, it's lawsuits that I've been through. It's labor board claims that I've been through. It's people stealing clients. It's like all of the crap that you don't see. You see, oh, she's got this, she's got that, she's got a shiny, flashy life. You don't see the bullshit that I've been through or that I've dealt with. And I want people to know you're going to deal with this. You're going to deal with adversities. You're going to deal with people doubting you. You're going to deal with people that just are trying to tear you down. But a savage will never give up. A savage is so committed to their journey and to the life they know that they are so worthy of, that they will never give up. They will always find a way to pick themselves back up and get through it. So that's what a business savage is all about. And that's what we try to teach in the academy is, let's create a community where I can give you the roadmap to success. And I'm going to be here and help you pick you back up all along the way as you're dealing with your adversities.
That's beautiful. We were talking about the naysayers, right? Or, the judgments that you and I both feel. There's people that are just like, oh, well, you hear this often, that person, their parents had money, or they're, pretty, or they're handsome, or they had this handed to them. And usually that's not the story, but tell me why that is a blind spot to people. How does that hold people back from their own success? Because I'm sure that you've seen that happen a lot with you, and you've also done coaching to help people overcome that. But to me, when someone places judgment, it's usually, I even recognize that inside of myself. Like when I notice myself with some type of a judgmental thought, the first thing I've trained myself to ask is, what is it that's insecure inside of me? Because I know that wouldn't come up if there wasn't some type of an insecurity. And so when people are judgmental towards you, and I've noticed that you've just been getting a lot more raw lately and just speaking from your heart, speaking that truth. But let's talk a little bit about why that holds people back and how they can notice that and start to overcome that for their own good so that they can grow.
Yeah, this is beautiful. So I'm a very firm believer, like to my absolute core, that every single person on this planet is destined for greatness. Every single one of us. Yes, we're all dealt a different hand. We all have different cards and we're all playing them differently. But I think that a lot of people will use, I can think of 100 examples for you. A lot of people blame ADD. I have ADD. A lot of people blame just all kinds of things. And they use them as what I'm going to say the word excuses. Right? They use them as excuses, as a reason, because how I like to look at it is we have this edge, right? We talked about this in our former mastermind, that edge of you have this glass ceiling, and the universe wants to pull you into your true alignment, into your true purpose, and like what you're destined to be. But it's going to get uncomfortable, and it's not something you're used to, and it's outside of your norm or what your family told you could accomplish or what people around you might be doing. And so because it's uncomfortable, it's that edge, you want to find reasons why not to crash through that and why not to become, that better version of yourself on the other side. So they make up excuses. And it's much easier when you see someone on the other side of that, who's maybe doing the things that you are aspiring to do. It's much easier for you to just say, they've only done it because of this, or this was given to them, or they have a life that I don't have, or they have opportunities that I don't have. I had this conversation with my sister. She lives down in Ecuador, and I was just down in Ecuador with her. We are Betty and Veronica, like two totally different people. I am 5'9" and blonde. She's 5'1" and brunette, and like just totally opposite people. And she's sitting there telling me, people don't all have the same opportunities, and not everyone can live a happy life. And she's trying to argue this point, and I'm trying to argue the opposite side of it, is they're putting these limitations in their way. And my definition of happiness, fulfillment, and success could be different than theirs, but everybody is worthy of that. So, I mean, my biggest thing that I have to say to those people is those excuses that you're making up is the exact thing that you need to overcome to get to that life of happiness and fulfillment, right? When you're saying, I can't do it because I have kids, or I can't do it, I'm not smart enough, or I'm not tall enough, or I don't have enough time, or any of these things, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. And if these people can realize that and realize that they're worthy of so much more, you'll start to think from a completely different vibration, where you will come up with opportunities, and you'll see every one of those as a possibility instead of something that's going to hold them back.
I agree with that. It's like when someone says like, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I have kids, I have a full-time job. Well, so do I. But the way I like to spin that is like to ask the question, well, how can I do it? How can I use this as my story? How can I use this as an advantage? But I think that the biggest problem with saying something like that, saying a limiting belief, I don't do this, or I don't have this, or I'm not good at this, is you've just let yourself off the hook. Nobody else did. You yourself dictated it. And so when people say that, especially my son, because I'll hear him say stuff like that, I'll just be like, well, it's because you said it. But once you say that in your mind, if it comes out of your mouth too, you've just literally let yourself off the hook, and therefore there's no action that follows. You just basically gave yourself a way out of creating exactly what you need to do by saying it, right? So how does someone become an unstoppable savage like you are? You said that you get knocked down, but you get up over and over. What is something that you like to teach people to do to create that unstoppable business savage mindset, to where they get knocked down, where they get up and they keep going?
Yeah. I mean, I think my answer for you, it's not anything flashy. It's not going to be anything fancy. There's no secret sauce. There's no formula or something to give people. Mine is in my habits, and it's in my daily routine. And one of the biggest things, and I know you're a big believer in all of this, we had a moment when we first met where we were locked eyes and holding hands and not allowed to let go, and our souls connected after that. But for me, it's, I am so damn mindful of the words that I speak to myself. And I think that a lot of people, and I catch them all the time, and it's something that I'm very mindful of with other people, is the words that they say to themselves. Because if you say to yourself, I'll never do that, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, oh, I'm such a dummy head, or any of that, you are starting to program that into your subconscious, and you will take action or not take action based on all of that. So something so simple that has really, and some people are like, oh, that's just, fluffy cuff, but I spend a lot of time practicing positive affirmations. I have sticky notes literally every single place in my apartment, in my house, in my car, with the amount of money I want to be making a month, with positive words that I want to start believing in myself. And the more I say those to myself, the more I start to believe them, and I start to vibrate on the type of frequency of the person who's going to make that kind of money and feel that kind of way. So I think the bottom line is it all stems down to mindset, surrounding yourself with people like you, right, who are going to be constantly pushing you to that next level. Because, recently I've been dealing with some stuff kind of on a personal note, that there's been days where I was like, I don't want to get out of bed today. Like, this is pretty crippling. Allowing myself to have those moments of vulnerability and to cry, but know that I'm going to get back up, because this isn't going to be the end. I'm not going to let this defeat me, because I'm so connected and so passionate about the bigger picture. And I think that a lot of business owners, when they start, they don't have that deep why. They don't even really know why they're doing it. Sometimes they're just doing it to make money. There's not like that deep underlying passion behind it. So when something small happens and gets in their way, it's easy to just, fold up shop and be like, it wasn't part of my journey. But a savage is going to realize, like, no, this is my journey. And this is just the universe throwing shit at me to see if I'm strong enough to get through it. So I could go all day about this stuff.
Yeah. Well, what comes to mind is your Instagram account. Because I've had multiple people mention this. God damn, I can't believe this shit happens. But you and a few of my other close coaching friends have had vast empires, big followings that you've cultivated, spent years on. And then one day you try to log on and it's all gone. And then you try to reach out to do the customer service thing. It's going nowhere. They want you to send all kinds of proof that you are who you are, which ultimately leads you to not being able to restore your account, and you need to start over from scratch. Tell me about the mindset. Like, what was that like to go through that? And how did you go from, like being you never were a victim, you just went into solution mode, but walk me through that process and tell us, like, how, when you suffer a blow, and I'm sure you've had a lot of business blows like that. How do you overcome that?
Yeah.
Instead of closing up shop, like you said.
Yeah. So I think that's a perfect example, and I'm happy to share that story because it's a recent one. There was a moment, and I'm going to say, 2 days tops, that I allowed myself to go into, we'll call it victim mindset, right? I don't ever allow myself to stay in that space, but I allow myself to feel. So anyone who's running any kind of a business, we all know the power of social media, right? And when you've worked that hard to grow a following naturally, organically to 21,000 followers, never bought a follower in my life. You get to that point where it's like, it feels unfair. It feels like, why me, right? You go into that victim mindset for about half a second. And then very quickly, I was grateful that I did not put all of my marketing eggs just into my social media basket. I had a little episode that came out afterwards about how important it is to diversify your marketing, because I had built that business. I mean, I had my reputation from my other businesses, but I had built my coaching business predominantly on social media. But I also had other outlets, right? I built a really big email marketing list. I have my podcast that gets a ton of eyeballs on it, and a lot of other things that I'd been doing in that space. So there was maybe a day that I sat in victim mindset, and then I said, this is an opportunity. This is the universe saying, Cassandra, and I'm going to be honest with you. I was driving back from Austin. I was heading from Austin to Nashville and driving back from Nashville. And I had somebody comment something, some Cheeto fingered keyboard warrior comment something on a reel saying, take away your pretty this, your fancy this, your lavish this, and blah, 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 and you'd be nothing. Right? They commented on it. And I get tons of comments, but that one stung. And I'm like, why am I letting this sting? Like, there's something here that I'm believing part of that might be true, right? There's something that I have to work through here. Lo and behold, next week, my Instagram was shut down. So it was really an opportunity that the universe was showing me to say, you don't need 21,000 followers. You don't even need social media, because the next week I signed 2 of my biggest clients to date from my podcast. And that was, in my opinion, the universe's way of being like, you have done such a beautiful job here, and you don't need to have it, all on social media. So I think for me, it was, again, like 2 days of sitting in that mindset maximum. And then instantly I was like, where is there an opportunity in this? And now with the Business Savage Instagram is I am using the stories and everything that I've learned to show people how you build a following naturally, organically. And it's become like a case study to show people what you do, what you don't do, what's working. Every week I'm showing them my analytics, what works, what doesn't work. And, really how you can grow an Instagram following and how you can still have a successful business, even if you've got 200 followers. You don't have to have the big numbers. So that's a small example, a small story, but it has definitely been, it's the most recent one that I was like, this sucks, but the universe is testing me.
That's incredible. I always like to think of stuff like that as, okay, and this is what you basically did, but this is a summary for the audience of, okay, shitty thing happens. What's the lesson here? what is the universe giving me? I love that you turn this around and you benefited this. Like you use this as an opportunity to grow instead of let it hold you back. Okay. What is the hardest moment that you've had in your business career, and how did you overcome that?
So I think probably the biggest thing that comes to mind for me right away is a lawsuit, right? Lawsuits are definitely not fun. Not something that you're prepared for. And I remember I was maybe 25 years old, I think, and it came through from my beauty business. And when it first came through, I had no idea what to do. I'm just assuming it's going to ruin me, assuming I'm going to owe millions of dollars. Like I didn't even know what to do. And I remember I called my uncle. My uncle owns many businesses, like very, very, very successful man. And he says to me, "How old are you?" I'm 25, something like that. "How long have you been in business?" I said, "Since I was 19. And he goes, "And this is your first lawsuit?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "You're doing all right." I'm like, "What? What kind of mindset is that?" He goes, "You're going to be just fine, kiddo. You're going to be just fine." So it gave me a little bit of hope, called up a lawyer, followed the steps of, everything that they advise you to do. And as you're going through it, you really realize like there's a lesson in this. There's a beautiful opportunity at the end of all of this. There were things that I needed to tighten up in my business. There was opportunities and ways that I could protect myself better. There was ways that I could protect my customers better. And at first, you go into it from a screw you, why did you do this to me? Like, I just want to stick it to you. And by the end of the lawsuit, I was understanding of her. I was understanding of where she was coming from. And all I wanted to do was let her know that I understood her, I heard her, and that I was almost appreciative of it. It really shone a light on my business in a beautiful way that I was then able to take it to a 7-figure level. Honestly, I don't know if I would have. It gave me a huge kick in the butt to really change things in my business.
That's so interesting, because these two examples that you've given me, you've used both of them to ultimately benefit from. And would you agree that most people and most situations, you can turn it, or if you have the right mindset, you can turn it around into being an advantage for you?
100%. Every single thing, I'm a firm believer in every single thing that happens in your life is part of your journey. It's all part of your journey. Maybe seem a little woo-wooey to some people, but I believe you have a purpose, you have a path, and this is what you're supposed to live. And we get straight off of it and things happen and we think, why is this happening to me? This is horrible. It's part of your journey. You're supposed to learn something from it. And the sooner, I'm very quick at flipping that switch now, the sooner you can realize the lesson in it, the beauty in it, the opportunity in it, the growth in it. I've been broken up with once in my entire life. And when it happened, I was like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Now I look back on that and I'm like, that was the best thing that's ever happened to me. Right. But in that moment, if you can see opportunities and see beauty in everything, I know recently some things that have been going on in my life, old Cassandra would have stayed in victim mindset and would have let it just defeat me. But after you do so much work on your mindset, it literally takes you a matter of minutes to go, well, that's not the greatest. Actually, this could be a really good opportunity, and instantly switch it to something beautiful. And it's such a freeing place to live when you can see beauty in everything. It's beautiful.
Yeah, each of these builds up and gives you more and more confidence to navigate future obstacles. And I think one way I like to do that is when I'm in the middle of something, when I'm in it and it doesn't feel very good, I try to picture myself and visualize myself like future Simon down the road, where things are exactly where I need them to be or want them to be. And I see myself like looking back at the time that, the present that I'm currently going through, and then doing what you just said. That's why I had to go through that. There was a lesson in there. And then I come back to the present and I ask myself, okay, what's the lesson that I'm supposed to be learning right now? And it just kind of changes it and puts you in that mindset of like figuring out how you can leverage that to your advantage. And by the way, I love that you talk about the stuff that's a little bit woo, because you can't get too woo for me. And I love that we talk, and I'm going to ask you about your affirmations in just a minute. But before I go there, I want to ask you, okay, the Cheeto finger, the hater, the troll. I'm sure that happens every so often for you. If not, it might even happen a lot, especially as you grow and get more prolific, because you're an absolute superstar. And what I do, it's funny because I don't look forward to it, but when I get a troll, I recognize that there's something inside of them that's hurt and they're needing to lash out at me, and they don't know me as a person. They haven't purchased my products, but I've been called like snake oil salesman before, or a wannabe Tony Robbins. And actually, I don't really resonate with Tony Robbins anymore. He was a big mentor to me when I was younger, but I'm just not really vibing his style anymore. No disrespect, because I've learned so much from him, but I've been hurled these, insults, so to speak. And it's like, I actually keep track of the number, because I'm like, that means that my voice is getting out, and I accept them as a part of this journey, right? What do you do? How do you navigate that when you, because like you said, that one, it stung, but what's your process for navigating when people are throwing hate your way or trolls? Because I'm sure there's people that are listening to this that probably are afraid to step out because they don't want to hear that.
Mm-hmm. Again, a beautiful thing to talk about, because something that a month or two, maybe a little bit longer than that, 6 months ago, I didn't deal with it very well at all. The first time I saw hate, I cried for sure. It was upsetting, and no one wants to see that, right? It's bullying. No one wants to see any of that kind of stuff. But very quickly, I learned that I shine so bright, and that my spirit is so bright that it is going to make other people realize their demons. And because of that, it's a trigger for them. So every time somebody is leaving hate, I actually feel bad for them. And more than anything, sometimes I'll message them. I'll send out a message to them or something. They need love more than ever. There's something going on in their life that they're in so much pain that they feel the need to come out into a public space and try to bring somebody else down. That person needs love. So for me, and that's kind of what that reel was about last night or the other day that I posted, all of the people that have doubted me, they've tried to stand in my way. They told me I wasn't good enough. They laughed when I fell down, and they would pray that I would not get back up. Those people need to realize they are worthy of all of the things that I'm trying to do too. They're just too scared. So, more than anything, they're the ones who need us. They need mindset people. They need people to help them realize their potential as well. So now I approach it from such a different perspective of, if this is triggering me, it's something I still need to work through, right? Someone said to me once, "Nice wig." And I was like, I don't wear a wig. So why that comment doesn't bother me, right? But some of the ones where they're questioning your character, if it's something you haven't worked through yet, that you're like, oh, I got to work through that still. I think just send them love. Those people need love more than ever. I don't know what the heck they're going through. They don't know what I'm going through, but the world needs a lot more damn kindness. That's for sure.
Absolutely. That's true enlightenment too. That's when you're doing well, is when you can send love to somebody who's sending you hate. It's interesting because I used to always get sucked into like debates or trying to prove, and I realized like I'm not proving anybody wrong. And then it's like tune it out. But like the highest level is when you can recognize that person is, it has nothing to do with you. It has something to do with them. Something's triggering them, something's hurting them. And when you can get to that level of enlightenment that Cassandra's on right now, where you send back love, that is so powerful. And that's something that we should all try to ascend to. Okay. So I love that you brought up affirmations and how important words are, how important our language is. And it's so fascinating. This is one thing that I've been really chewing on lately, is how our entire life we've been told you've got to work hard for success. And hard is a word that most people have an aversion to, whether they realize it or not. And so they're in their subconscious mind, they're like, well, I've got to work hard for success. So therefore they work hard for success, and it becomes harder than it needs to be, or they don't acquire success because they think it, on a subconscious level, that it's really difficult. And I love saying that hard. I love replacing that with a challenge. But tell me, like, what are some of the affirmations that you say? I love that you put the sticky notes around. And I'm looking at my desk and I've got a few of those. I've got my vision board. I've got like things around my house to remind me. But talking to you, I'm like, okay, I got to level up a little bit more on that. What else do you do as far as your language and your words? Tell me some of the affirmations that you say to yourself.
Yeah. So I have this little list. It's in my bathroom over here, but I have this little list of things, and I like to do it every morning and every night. And it's kind of how I start and preface my day. My affirmations change. They're typical. It's typical stuff, right? And it changes all the time. It's, I am worthy of the life that I am working for. For a while, when I was young, I had to work really, really hard for good grades, and people would say I'd get good grades for other reasons and other things. And so I had a thing for me about being intelligent and people thinking I wasn't intelligent. So I had a lot of affirmations for a while around being intelligent. I'm a magnet. I am going to be attracting the life that I want. I am attracting the people to me, like things like that. But I think when we talk about, actually, here it is. I thought it was in my bathroom, but it's staring me right in the face here. Who do I want to be today? Is one of the questions I ask myself every single morning. And it changes every day. Some days I want to be a savage. I want to show up and I want to have that intensity. And I just want to like trickle intensity over everything I do. But sometimes I just want to send some really like calm energy to people. Some days I just want to be, a shoulder for someone to cry on. So who do I want to be today? Number 2 is, how do I want to interact with others? So something that you and I started talking about at the beginning of this episode that I've really been reflecting on and changing my businesses is around the customer experience, not just customer service, but customer experience. So how do I want to interact with others in a way that I can make them feel heard, right? And I can start to build a relationship with them rather than it just being a transactional sale. I want to build relationships. Number 3 is, what skills must I develop today? And number 4 is, how can I make a difference and serve with excellence? So this is something I do every single morning. And it's just like a quick pep talk of framing how I'm going to show up that day. And when I go to bed at night, I ask myself, did I do those things? Was I that person? Was I a hero? If I wanted to be a hero today, was I somebody's hero? Was I my own damn hero? Right? So it changes every day depending on kind of what I'm feeling called to do. But that's a little exercise that I've become really obsessed with. And I also do a lot of future pacing, which I'm sure you've probably talked about.
I do, but let's talk about it for a minute really quick.
Yeah.
Tell
Basically
my audience about how you use future pacing.
Yeah, basically it's speaking to myself as if I have already done the things that I'm aspiring to do, right? So I'll say something quickly like, it's 2023. I am standing on a stage speaking this, or I just finished speaking at this conference. There were 100,000 people there. You made such an impact. This is what you are doing. You're feeling this way. And I allow myself to sit and visualize what that could feel like, visualize that moment, feel that moment as if it has already happened. And then I'm like, what is the disconnect between that person and who I am today? What is that person doing differently? How are they showing up differently than I am today? And then there's that whole process of that gap in between of where I can connect the dots, because that's really all that's stopping me from getting to being that person. So really on that like high vibrational level, experiencing who I want to be.
I love that. That's giving me chills. I've got chills. I love doing that too. And sometimes it's hard to see what's the missing piece. Sometimes you think about the future version of yourself and you can be there, but you're not quite sure because you aren't there. But that's what's so fun, is discovering where that gap is and finding the steps that you need to take to get there. One thing I've noticed about you too, and then we'll wrap this up and I'll have you tell us a little bit about how people can tap into Business Savage Academy and take the steps that you are taking to create the life that you want. But one thing I've noticed about you, and this is why I love being your friend, is I see that you do the fucking work. Okay. Mm-hmm. You put in the work, like you're doing all these things, affirmations, and I'm sure you have a comprehensive workout routine and morning routine, and what you do in your business. Like I was there watching you launch Business Savage Academy. I could not believe how fast you had done it. I was on my third launch about like the time you were putting your first one together. I could not believe the quality of that program and what you put together in such a short amount of time. But one thing I know about you is you put in the work. What is your morning routine like, or what is your rituals like to keep you primed and ready to crush it each day? Do you have a morning routine?
I do have a morning routine. So being a big sports person, fitness is a huge part of my life. If I don't start my day with some kind of physical activity or physical exercise, like I'm a big, like heavy weight lifter, I just don't feel quite aligned. So I definitely always start my day with that. I do my affirmations. I have my morning routine, but it's not like super, super structured. It's not like I have to do this and then it goes to doing this and then it goes to doing this. There's that box of stuff that I want to check off in the morning. Always make my bed when I get out of bed in the morning, that kind of typical stuff. I do my affirmations. I have a quick meditation, all of that sort of stuff. I never turn on my phone at all until I've done those things. Like I'll get out of bed and go hit up my Peloton now in the other room before I'll start diving into any kind of work, because I want to set my mind to a right place before I dive into everything. The biggest thing for me, Simon, is and you know, this is like, I'm a big time management like ninja, right? I'm stepping into my fourth business. I have a personal life. I have a place down in Texas. I am traveling all over the place. I've got 2 dogs, don't have any kids, but I've busy life, as busy as anybody else. But I am very good at balancing and being very intentional with my time. So if I sit down to do something, I can be so 100% present with it. So instead of doing that busy work or getting it done at a 10% capacity, and people say, well, oh, I've been working on something for 6 hours, but I didn't really get much done. If I work on it for an hour, I got more done than most people did in 6, because I'm so damn intentional with that time. I sit down knowing what I'm going to do. I've written out my actions. I've prepared myself for it. So I think it comes to a place of spending a lot of time on time management and being so like goal oriented and breaking those down and really having structure in my work routine that allows me to close my laptop at 5 p.m. and completely disconnect and have fun and go do whatever and still have had a very productive day.
Incredible. Last question for you. Is this the best time for the average person who has never started a business? They see you doing some amazing things. Maybe they're tuned into my podcast or my, some of the content I'm putting out, and they're thinking, God, I would like to start a business and I am passionate about a topic. Is this the best time that you've ever imagined in history to actually make that happen?
My answer is always going to be yes, but yes, more than ever. I think one of the biggest things that people say is, I'm not ready, right? You kind of alluded to that. My answer is you will never be ready, ever. You'll never be ready. There's always going to be something. There's always going to be an excuse. There's always going to be, something that comes in the way. And there'll be a reason for you to put up that wall and say, I'll do it later. One of the reasons why I feel like I have been quote unquote successful is because I dive into things, even if I'm not necessarily ready, knowing that I'm going to figure it out, right? We say diving in the deep end rather than dipping your toe in the water. I always dive in the deep end. When I start something, I'm fully committed to it. So, more than ever, I think now, especially with just the opportunities that have presented themselves since COVID and the online space and the sense of community that people want again, it is a really beautiful time for people to be starting to pursue their passions.
Absolutely. I think that we're just living in an age where there's so many tools, there's so much information out there. The market is perfect. Like, people are looking to connect with real people to do business with, rather than just huge, gigantic corporations to just spend massive amounts of money on advertising. But what Cass teaches is she teaches the savage mindset. So it doesn't really matter what the external world looks like. It doesn't matter if there's apps and tools and tech out there to help you out, which there is, and she teaches. But she's going to teach you the savage mindset, the unstoppable mindset, the way to make it happen regardless of the external world. All right. Well, I guess I asked you the last question, but tell me about where people can find you. How can they get in touch with you and find more information about Business Savage Academy? I have to say, I was there and you let me see the behind the scenes of all this, and you let me be a part of it. Holy shit. I'm not just saying this. This course, this curriculum, this community is phenomenal. It is top tier. You've done an amazing job with it. You've helped me level up. But how do people find you if they want to see what this looks like?
Thank you, friend. So I'm going to always refer people to my website, because everything that happened with social, I'm like, I don't want to rely on social. So the formal business is the CB Mindset. So it's www.thecbmindset.com. From there, they can see all the ways that they can work with us. And there's the link to the Business Savage Academy. Our next round is launching in June, and the entire program has been revamped. So if you thought it was good, I've taken a lot of feedback and really honed in on what are the most important aspects to becoming a savage business owner. And it's taking it to another level. So I'm very excited about that. Instagram is at the.business.savage if everyone wants to go over there and connect with me there as well.
That's amazing. This has been so fun. I could jam out with you for a couple more hours, but you and I are going to record for your podcast as well. So we've got to cut it right here. Mindset Hackers, thank you so much. Please take 10 seconds and drop a review on this on Apple or on Spotify, and share this with somebody out there who may be an aspiring entrepreneur who wants to get into business savagery and take it to the next level with Cassandra. Thank you so much. I'll catch you on the next episode.